I don't want to waste anyone's time. So let's get moving. So reminder, all of you can see what we're doing here. And I wanted to make sure that everybody knows where to get this particular PowerPoint that I'm going to be going over. So if you jump into the class, if you're an A, B, C, or D, as soon as you log in, this is what it should look like. Right? Go down to week 12, which is where we are today. And the class is on 5/17. Click there. Once you click on week 12 schedule, it should bring you up to class lab hours and a couple other things, including this one, the PowerPoint. So this PowerPoint is, I'll be making some modifications as we go. So if you refresh, you'll see the modifications that we make in the class here. And slowly. A couple big important things that we're going to be covering today, and one of the most I think the most important things that we need to talk about is how to calculate your financials. And I'm going to go ahead and take this off because I'm more than 6 feet away from everyone. How to calculate your financials for your pitch presentations. We'll be going over it in depth here in just a little bit. We'll be talking about how to calculate your TAM, SOM, as well as your initial target market segmentation, also known as your beachhead or your target market. It's called a lot of different things. I like to refer to it as a beachhead so that we can differentiate between that and some of the other market size projections. We'll be doing that in just a little bit. Before we do that, I want to get through all of the housekeeping. So starting with the workshop that's coming up on Friday, it's the last workshop of the semester. And it's the last workshop we will be doing in this old rec in the temporary space in the science building in S5105. After this, we're going to be moving to our permanent home, which is the entire ground floor of the C building. Woo! So excited. I cannot wait. And just so you know, I will be hitting you up for help with moving everything over and things like that, because yeah, we don't really have anybody who can help with that except for us. So I'll let you know when that's coming. All right. So the workshop is coming up on Friday. It's with Juan Sanchez, and I appreciate all of you who've signed up as potential guinea pigs for this particular workshop. It's on how to write a press release. She is a journalist here, local journalist here in San Diego, who specializes in entrepreneurship and speaking with entrepreneurs, with startup founders. She's worked for a lot of local San Diego publications, well-known publications, and she will show you how to write a press pitch that will get noticed and that will get hopefully responses from other journalists. And she'll be doing that by actually writing a press pitch for a couple of you, 2 to 3 of you. So she has a list of people who are interested in being those guinea pigs, and they are here listed at the bottom. Volunteer for press pitch. And so it's going to be one of you here. I don't know if she'll go in order or if she'll just choose based on what she sees about your startup. Tommy, put in a link of something. You have a good video, by the way. Put your video in. Yeah. And anything you want to change in there, do so now. I'm going to be meeting with her or discussing this a little bit more with her tomorrow. So yeah, even if you're not on this list, definitely come to this, because just like everything in life, people need to know you and people need to like you in order for you to be successful. And so a good way for them to get to know you and to like you is for you to meet them. And so you'll have that opportunity meeting her here. Is this in person or on Zoom? It's in person? Okay, so it will be in person as well as, of course, on Zoom for those of you who can't come. So if you're able and you want to come to the rec, you can do that on Friday. And the nice thing too is if you do come on Friday and you need to use any of the equipment, this might be your last chance for a while to use any of it. So if you need to print anything, business cards, flyers, posters, t-shirts, whatever you need to do, Friday might be a good day. All right, so all right, let's go back over to our list. Again, this is just a link to the class photos. I encourage all of you to use these to post any photos that you like from the rec, share each other's photos. And if you have photos that we don't have, you're welcome to put them in here. You can just upload them directly to this Google photo, or if you're having a hard time doing it, just send me the link to the photos and then I will upload them, or coming in tomorrow and we can do it together. Right? So perfect. That's that there. The other thing. Okay, so let's talk about our upcoming pitches. All of you should be working on your pitch deck presentations, and your pitch deck presentation that you're going to want to be working on is your short, complete pitch deck that you will be presenting to the investors coming up at in September for the grand opening, and then also in July for our angel investor pitch competitions, including the pitch to New Fund, formerly Tech Coast Angels, on the pitch presentation with the finalists is on July 28th, but you do need to, before July 28th, give them your recorded pitch so that they can make decisions about who will move on in the process to the finalists or the finals. So we talked a little bit about pitching last week, and we went over the details of what to include in your pitch deck presentation, how to give a winning pitch deck presentation. Yesterday, we had an amazing workshop on this. If you didn't see it, please watch the recording on our YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about how you calculate your TAM, SAM, SOM, and your beachhead for your pitch presentations. And then I will be available tomorrow during lab hours to help all of you who need help with actually completing those financials. If you haven't even started on them, you might need longer than that to get that done, or those calculated, because it takes a lot of research, a lot of research. Pitches that are effective are pitches that are supported with evidence, with credible evidence that you can point to, and you can say, yes, this is true, and this is why it's true. Right? All right. So let's see. As always, put any information that changes or that gets updated into the recap form, and the recap link is right there. And one other thing that you need to make sure is updated in there is whether or not you are planning on pitching to the angel investors on July 28th. Now, there are some important dates listed here associated with that pitch presentation. The first is July 8th. That is when the deadline closes for the application. So by then, you need to have all of the information. Oops, we forgot to put all of this information needs to be filled out here on the New Fund pitch competition sheet of your recap form, including your video. Now it says a YouTube video linked. So even if you are just recording your pitch presentation over Zoom, please don't provide to them the link to the Zoom presentation. Actually, download it, upload it into YouTube, follow the instructions that we give to you for giving a pitch deck presentation, so that way, if they have any hearing issues and they need to put closed captions, they can do that easily. And all the other things that go along with it being on YouTube. Does not need to be public if you don't want to make it public, but it does need to be on YouTube. And then you also need to update here in the recap form whether or not you want to take rec classes over the summer. And then, you know what, let's actually make this summer and fall. We'll start with a summer interest list. So if you're planning on enrolling over the summer, we'll put this here for summer, summer 2022. And then down here, we'll do fall 2022. If you are planning on being here in the summer, you don't also have to put fall, but if it's not summer also and just fall, then put your information there under fall. Okay, so we don't have the link yet, but I'd like to know exactly who's planning on taking the classes so that I can Yeah, so that I can, yeah, divvy up the resources. And what were you gonna say? Oh yeah, and the mentors are looking over all of the, oh, thank you. All of you must reapply if you have not yet done so. Most of you have, but the reason is because the mentors, we have more people who have expressed interest or applied than we have spaces for. Obviously, you have preference because you've been in the program before and are making progress. But we do need to, cut. We only have so many and we only have so much money. And so we can only let the amount of people in that we have spaces for. And I knew this was going to happen eventually. And I'll keep trying to get more resources and everything. But until then, we do need you to reapply over the summer so that we can make the decision, or the mentors can help make the decision on who we let in. To do that, you will go through and just complete the application process. If you've already done it, but it's good to do anyways, because it helps you to see where you are in your business. But if you've already done it before, you can actually take and just update your application. And what's that? Yeah, the link is on the PowerPoint. In fact, I'll just go through that link right there. So here's the link, join the rec. And the reason I say it's important to do anyways is because it really does help you to see what you should be doing, right, for your startup development, and what you are doing, maybe where you need some work or some additional support. And it really kind of helps you to refocus again. So I highly recommend all of you to, not only just do it for the admission committee, but also just for yourself, right? Just to help you, help you to see where you are and where you need to go. So remember, those, you've all done this before, all of the information here, it's a lot of information. So you should already have it saved. You had the option of saving and returning to it, which is great. But if not, you can, just cut and paste from wherever you have your information on your company. But remember, to treat this as if it is an application, because it is. Some people won't come back in again. We only have so many spots, and we're only going to be able to let so many in, and it needs to be fair and unbiased. And that's why we now have that. It's the mentors who are making the decisions based on the applications. They'll speak with me, but I'm not. I want to keep me out of it, right? I want to keep it as unbiased and fair as possible. So make sure to keep it complete. So put all the information that you have, and next. Right. And so in this, as you go through each of the sections, you can see, wow, have I thought about these things? Have I created a good pitch video? Do I know what my business model is? Do I have a clear problem statement that I can articulate in a sentence or two? Is it compelling, right? And then what's my competitive advantage? And am I really taking advantage of good timing in the market? And do I really know who my competitors are? Are they indirect competitors or direct competitors? And what's not good about what they're doing? All these things are good things for you to be thinking about anyways. Basically, you're taking your business model canvas and expressing it in question and answer format, right? Do I know my initial target market? Have I done any of that? Hopefully, most of you have gotten down the road of validating your assumptions in that business model canvas. You've moved forward in your customer discovery. You've talked to people. You have data. You can point to that data. This is a really great way for you to kind of step back and take a look at where you are, right? How many interviews have you completed? In person and surveys. What do your early adopters look like, right? And tonight, when we're doing the target market, we'll really be defining those early adopters in terms of a customer persona. Who are they? What do they look like? What is their name, right? Give them a name, right? Tell what you've done in your digital marketing efforts. What does your website look like? How's your LinkedIn? Are you posting every day? I mean, well, not necessarily every day. Some of you are, I know, but every week. Are you using more than just one channel? and what's that primary channel that gets you the most of your customers, how often, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, are you blogging or doing something else? Have you done any crowdfunding campaigns? And I know several of you have. And you can go through. This is, like I said, it's the entire business, just sort of spread out from a big bird's eye view. And it's really helpful, really, really helpful to keep you focused on where you are. You know, what does your org chart look like? Have you been good about doing your operations manuals? I know a lot of us, it's so hard to do everything that you need to do. And all of you are doing different things at different times. And so, you know, maybe one semester you'll be really deep in one thing and not another, but this is a good, again, it's a good way to kind of look at it and say, oh, am I doing things right? Do you have your business license yet? Have you filed for your whatever, LLC, S Corp, whatever it ends up being? Yada, 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 goes all the way through all of these. So any questions about this process? No. Okay. When do we have to have this in by? Either Crystal or Angela, if you know. You don't know the exact date. Okay, so I would say all of you do it as soon as you can. What's the last day of the semester? Okay, so if you can get it done before, I would say, I don't know exactly when it needs to be done. I don't have it, but we definitely has to be done by the end of the semester. So that would be the 28th of this month. So there's not a lot of time left, about little over a week to get it done. No, this is for the summer. This is for the summer. If you're going to be, if you are going to take the summer off and you're going to be coming back in the fall, you can take your time. We don't need that until then, the end of summer semester, which would be probably July, late July, early August. In fact, let's just give a hard date for fall. So fall, let's say, let's give it maybe July 15th, so we have plenty of time. Do you think that's enough time for everybody? Yeah, okay. If you need more time, let me know, but let's go ahead and if you could put the fall in there too, Crystal. All right, everybody, you ready to actually dive in and start working on our TAM, SAM, SOM, on our pitch presentations? Okay, cool. Let's get started. All right. So oh, another thing I isn't in there. Is there the what is it called? Accountability check-in this week, or is it next week? Because I want to make sure. So the reason I'm asking about this is I really want to make sure that if anybody needs anything at the end here, we'll give you guys time to give your quick elevator pitch and any needs that you have, and we'll be happy to help each other out. But go in there as well, and let's do another just accountability check-in. I'll put the link, or Crystal can put the link into the PowerPoint, and let's make sure that we're all helping each other out. The reason I thought of it was because Eduardo was in here earlier, or right now, and he was showing me his new Instagram page, and I was thinking, all right, let's go ahead and let's bring him in for the grand opening, right? Let's bring him in for the grand opening on the 23rd. And so I followed him here, and I was thinking, yeah, we got to get everybody following each other, helping each other out. So, okay, cool. What's that? Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. All right. So let's talk about TAM, SAM. I don't want to share this. You know, let me go back over here. I'll pull up the pitch deck video also, or the pitch deck PowerPoint. So TAM. First of all, TAM, SAM, SOM. What are we trying to estimate when we're estimating TAM, SAM, SOM? Anyone from class or home?
Total addressable market.
Total addressable market. Was that Kristen?
It was Paula.
Oh, Paula, good job.
I impersonate her. It seems like a lot.
You guys sound like each other so much. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So total addressable market. Has anybody heard any other terms for TAM, for TAM? Because it's often called what? Total CA available, right? People often say total available market. I prefer total addressable market because it is it's a lot more of a concrete term. It's something we're addressing. It's not available, like, oh, just go out there and get it. Anybody can have it, right? It's something that we're saying, no, this is the total market that we're potentially going to address. And let's go back over here. So when we're saying total addressable market, this is, so we're trying to figure out our market size, the potential market size for the entire market, and you know, of course, there are some geographic constraints when we are calculating any of these, the TAM, SAM, SOM, or the beachhead. We typically stay within the United States, right? Unless our product or service, part of its core is an international market. So all of the projections that you see in these are US. Now, TAM, the first one of TAM, SAM, and SOM. I'm going to show this again. The first one of TAM, SAM, and SOM. That is the only one that you can usually find online without doing anything, right? That's something that you should be able to Google. Here we go, TAM, SAM, SOM. You should be able to Google and get something pretty well cited, that you can easily support. So, you know, all these numbers, we're trying to estimate the market size, but beyond that, we're trying to show that we've estimated the market size, that we've done research, that we've looked it up. So when I say a total addressable market, I'm saying, you know, every single person in the United States that, you know, within that industry, So TAM could be like, you know, the automobile industry, or it could be, you know, food service or ride sharing. It's huge. TAM is usually a very, very big number. And this is typically the relationship, the way that we put it on our PowerPoint slides. Now, everything, you know, every assumption that we make needs to be validated, needs to be supported with evidence. And the more, you know, the evidence that is credible evidence, that is something that people can look to and say, yes, I agree, you know, there's no question about it, is better. You don't want to be putting like blogs or something like that in there. You want to actually, you know, use the Census Bureau, use industry information, and then tell people where you got it. It doesn't go on the slide itself, you know, the citations, but have a citation document at the end, or perhaps in the notes, somewhere where very easily, when somebody says, how did you get that number? Boom, you can pull it up and you can say, this is how I got the number. It's from 2021 US Census Data Report. Here it is, right? So this is I think TAM is the easiest to find, even if you know, if you are really financially challenged and you're thinking, oh, I can only get a little bit done, you better be able to at least get TAM. You better be able to get TAM. Okay, so SAM, let's go on. TAM, SAM, SAM. What is SAM? What is SAM? What does SAM stand for? Anyone?
Serviceable addressable market.
So serviceable, I've heard serviceable used quite a bit. Serviceable, served also works. Served addressable market, served. I've heard a lot of people say served available. Again, I don't like available as much as addressable or addressed, but yeah, absolutely. Served or serviceable addressable market. Beautiful. Thank you, Paula. And, you know, eventually we're going to be getting down to, you know, our initial target market of early adopters, or the first people who are going to be using our product or service based on the research that we've done. And there can be many along the way, but these are the very first. That's very narrow. Served addressable market, again, is still pretty darn big. It's pretty darn big. Right. So how is a served addressable market different than total addressable market? So you can think of total addressable market as the industry, and then served addressable market as the portion of the industry that we're actually going to serve, or the so yeah, so all of these are target markets, but this is where we actually, and the reason I went back up to the focus strategy and the beachhead is because this is where we actually dive into some descriptors of that early market. So you may not, you may not necessarily geographically bound it. It could still be all of the United States, but you'll take the people in that industry who are actually likely to be able to buy your product or service, or going to want to buy your product or service. So, we kind of did this backwards, because one of the first things I like to do is I like to very first determine who that initial target market is going to be, and then I kind of go back from there. But that's okay. We can do it in any order, or talk about it in any order, and then go back and do it. But when you do that beachhead market analysis, you are very specific and very focused about who is most likely to use your product. Let's just say product, no product. So you're going to want to say, is this a man? Is this a woman? Is this somebody who's older, younger? Do they make a lot of money? Do they spend a lot of money? What do they spend their money on? And and how are they buying this? How are they using this? And so based on the customer discovery that you've done, you will have made assumptions that have been hopefully validated. That says more likely that women are going to buy this than men. It's more likely that affluent, as opposed to people who don't make a lot of money, and more likely that they are outgoing or fun-loving, or are teachers, or whatever it is, right? So I'll give an example based on a product that I'm working on. So actually, let me see if I have the. I'm going to open up the beachhead target market slides as well. So I'll give you an example for a product that I'm working on. It's an ed tech product, so it's education technology for entrepreneurship, and it's actually, I'm going to ask for you guys to help me with my market research, but it's a better way to deliver the content of the curriculum. So that's one thing that it's been driving me crazy since we started, was getting all this ridiculous amount of curriculum that we need to cover in our class over to you. And we have so many things that need to be covered to start a company that it can get a little complicated and convoluted, and what a mess. So I'm working on an app that helps people navigate through the business development and get access to the instructions when they need them, depending on where they are. And so for that product, the example of my TAM, my total addressable market, would be education industry, right? So we could just say how many people are in the field of education. That would be absolutely acceptable TAM. Then moving in, my SAM, my served addressable market, would be a lot more specific. It would be the entrepreneurship students, particularly people who are launching high growth startups. It would be and it would be a dual-sided market strategy. So I would probably do two, and one of them would be the teachers, the other one would be the students, and I would narrow that in to actually those people in the educational industry that would be potentially using my product. Does that kind of make sense? The difference between TAM and SAM? Difference between TAM and SAM? Can somebody else in the class just tell us who your TAM would be and your SAM would be? Or are?
I can.
Yeah, awesome.
So I know this time I'll chime in. Paula's twin.
Right, voice twin. Yeah.
So my TAM is the U.S. Health caregiving market, which is 34 billion. And then once I got that stat, and a lot of times people will say, oh, it's much higher. It's like about 350 billion, but that's not factoring in all the hours that caregivers put in taking care of their loved ones without getting compensated. And so once I got that stat, then since it's a SaaS platform, I needed to find out the care coordination software, how much that brings in annually. And that was 3.2 billion. So that's how I was able to dig down further.
So you're further, so overall you have the healthcare field, your SAM, the market that you're actually going to be serving is in, say that again, it's the.
So my TAM is the health caregiving market.
Right,
And then my SAM is the care coordination software within that space.
Okay, so care coordination, so those who are using software to coordinate care are the people that you're addressing?
Yeah, so the companies that provide that software to help with all the appointment scheduling, et cetera.
So let's, one thing we want to be careful, because all of these are represented or are shown two different ways. We do them in dollars, and then we do them in some kind of a unit, and whether that's whether that's the product, or that's usually it would be the people. And so it sounds like you might also have a dual-sided, where you need to look at the amount of other providers, but you also need to look at the kind of the number of people who are actually using that software. And so that's another thing that I'm glad that you said this. Each of us will have a different approach, a different strategy that we'll need to take based on what it is that we're providing, right? So it's absolutely appropriate to guess and to do educated guesses based on what we think, but then you always want to follow through and support those educated guesses with evidence that actually exists. And the beauty of doing these kinds of projections and showing your TAM, SAM, SOM is you're basically taking information that other people gathered. It's secondary research. They created it. They did the work. You're finding it. You're putting it together. And then you're using that to say something about you, about your potential, about your market. So if we have units, are usually people, and that's usually how we say them. But then we also want to put dollars. How do we get the dollars for TAM? So how would you estimate the dollars for TAM? Anyone? Yeah, it's usually something you can Google, right? Absolutely. You can Google TAM, absolutely. Now, SAM, on the other hand, you're not going to be able to Google that, because if you're saying, well, it's, it's everyone in the education industry who, and let's just do one side of my market, who is taking entrepreneurship classes, who's starting a high growth company, who is comfortable with technology, probably within a certain age group, or has a smart device, things like this. There's probably not going to be any data about first of all, that particular market already together, and also how much money you can make on that market. So you need to go you need to do a lot of research separately, and then you make assumptions based on the research that you have. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. And you take the numbers that you can find and multiply the percentages of people who fall within that one variable group, and you would then multiply that times the number that you have. So I'll show you exactly. I think I'll confuse you if I get any more detail right there. But then for price. Mm-hmm.
Do you need to cite your sources on your PowerPoint?
Never cite your sources on your PowerPoint. Always have them ready on another page of your PowerPoint, that when somebody says, but was that Deanna talking? But Deanna, like, how, that seems like a high number for me. How did you get that? That you can go, well, I'll tell you how you can get that. And you go to the next slide that has the explanations, the support, and you can show them, right? But never on the slide itself, because remember when we were talking about pitch deck presentations, clean, clear, concise as possible, just as simple as possible. So yeah, good question. All right. Okay, the final one, SOM, is the share of market. Now the share of market is essentially just a percentage of SAM. And that percentage is based on, once again, validated assumptions, educated guesses, research. So we should have already done our competition slide. We should have already done our, our customer persona. So our beachhead market, and I'll show a little bit more on that. And we should have already estimated based on that that customer discovery and the competitor discovery. We should already have estimated who our competition are and what they're charging. Once we have that, we can take that number and calculate our SAM. And then we also need to estimate, or not estimate, we need to research how much of that market do they have? How long have they been in business, right? Once you know that, you can make projections about where you think you'll be. Now, the projections that you're making when we're sharing this data, you can project forward 2 years, you can project forward 5 years. I wouldn't do more than that, but and that's a really good sort of place to be, a 2 to 5 year projection, so that when you say this is my TAM, SAM, SOM, what you're talking about is this is where I'll be in 2 to 5 years. My business will be 2 to 5 years. And it's true. I know that it's true. I can show that it's true because these are my competitors. This is the market share that they have. And therefore, with my, everything that I've shown you and all my research, I anticipate being somewhere near where they were on year 5 or 3, whatever it is, right? So whatever it is, it'll be different for all of you. You just need to be able to support that. So I've watched so many bad presentations in my life. Just you've seen them yourselves probably by now. You've seen some bad ones. The worst that I saw, I don't know if Angela's here, but Angela, do you remember when we had, and I won't tell his name or anything, but when he had his TAM, SAM, SOM projections, and he had a SOM that was almost identical to the SAM. And the investor said, well, why is that? How come your SOM is the same as your SAM? And he said, well, this is what the target market is going to be. And if I do things right, I'm expecting to capture 100% of the market. Is that realistic?
No.
Hell no, hell no. Even if you have a great idea, by year 5, if you do have a great idea, you're damn sure that any one of those competition will have copied what you're doing. And he was trying to say, but it's a new market. There's nobody else in this. So I'll be able to capture and retain the entire, you don't have a monopoly. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. So not realistic. What would a realistic percentage share of market be? Depends on your industry. It depends on your startup. It depends on what are the competitors doing. And when were they doing that? When has that changed? Or when was it? How has it changed now? So that's another thing. These don't stay the same. You should be calculating this and updating this regularly. They're going to change based on all sorts of outside influences or factors rather. And so it's just sort of a snapshot of where we are right now based on my my best guesses, my best supported guesses, right? So, yeah, go ahead. Yes.
When the company's not
publicly traded. Yeah, of course. So it's harder. Publicly traded companies are easier. And maybe what you can do is take, there's a lot of extrapolation or saying, well, it's true about this, therefore I'm assuming it's true about that. And so you might not be able to find exactly for that industry, for privately held companies, how much market share they have, but you can make educated guesses by data that you can find. So it's a lot of educated guesses and being able to support, right? It goes back to being a good critical thinker, being able to justify in a way that does not seem defensive. The worst thing that you can do is try to defend your position. You just need to explain your position. And hopefully you've done such a good job of feeling, yeah, she's right. Any other questions before I move on?
No, I didn't hear the question, but I think what was asked was, how do you determine your competitors' market share when they're private companies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that can be tough. Yeah, that was the question. Yeah. Exactly. So what you do is, if you can't find it in that particular industry or for those particular competitors, you look to see what you can find it is. You try to make assumptions based on how many followers they have or how many sales they have on Amazon or whatever the industry is, it'll be different. And then you support that, support what you said with, well, it's happening here. So therefore I'm making the assumption that it's happening here. Right. So it's a lot of critical thinking. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
And Timothy, for myself, the lucky find was my biggest competitor got their Series B last summer, but I found a 2018 interview and they gave their pricing from back then. And I was like, "Oh."
Beautiful.
So that really helped. But, you know, if they're able, generally people don't always give their pricing out. But if they do, and you can kind of find it in a PowerPoint presentation, investor
interview,
you know, because sometimes they will post their investor slides, even though they're, you know, not public, then that's what you jump on.
Hey, and I'm glad you said that too, Kristen, because there's another thing that a lot of you maybe aren't thinking of, but you're all students. Play the student card, play that student card. Reach out to them. You should be friends. You should be following your competitors very close, very, very closely, because they're likely your exit strategy, right? Likely you're going to be either selling to them or they're going to acquire you. Something's going to happen along the way, or you'll partner with them, whatever it ends up being. So they need to know you, you need to know them, and play that student card. Hi, I'm a student, and I would love if you could help me with a little bit of research that I'm doing for a school project, which is all true. And people like to help students. So, all right. I want to, any other questions before I move on to discuss your initial target market of early adopters and how you calculate that? And this is where I would actually start. This are the competitors. Okay, moving on. Okay, so that initial target market of early adopters is also called the beachhead market, or we call it the target market. A lot of different names, but essentially what we're trying to find is that initial group of users, and we want it to be very, very focused. Let me go back over here. Sorry. Very, very, very focused, very niche, very specific. And the reason why we want it to be so specific, it's not because we want you to be small, or I think, oh, you don't want to fail big. No, it's because I want you to be big. I want you to be big. And the smaller you can start, the bigger you will grow. The more narrow and niche you are, the better you are. And your goal should not ever be to be all things to all people. And if any of you ever say, oh, my customer is everyone, I'll cry. I'll just cry. I'll go home and cry, right? Because your customer, your initial target market of early adopters should not be everyone. Because if it's everyone, you can't reach everyone. You can't be an expert to everyone. You can't be well-known to everyone. You can't be friends with everyone. And so we need to be very, very specific about that early target market. So that when we're first estimating our early adopters, you want to be a single customer segment. There can be many later along the way. You want to have a single product or service. You want to have a single geographic region. You want that geographic region to be close to where you live or work. And you want to be able to be really, really great in that initial niche market. The reason it shields you from competition, right? You're less likely to make others wake up and be aware of what's going on. You're not going to be directly going up against the big companies or the big competitors. They're usually okay with you taking a little narrow niche bit of their business. What hopefully you'll end up doing is taking many more niche markets until you dominate, but you're less likely to have them come right at you and compete with you. You'll be able to do that concierge service that is critical when you first start. So when you first launch your business, you want to have a concierge type model, meaning that you're doing everything. So you are the wizard behind the Wizard of Oz curtain, right? Everybody thinks that all this big stuff is happening and this app is doing everything for you. And you're just like, boom, boom, and it's easy, but you're behind the scenes running around like a crazy chicken, making sure that it all works, making sure that everything is smooth for them and that, the process is seamless. They don't need to know the reality. And in beginning, you want it to be concierge, right? You want it to, so that you have an intimate knowledge of every part of the process. And then it doesn't cost you as much. You don't need to figure out how to do it with technology. You can just, sort of tape and rubber bands and you make it work in the meantime. So the more focused you are, the more you can get that that expertise. You can get that reputation as the leader in that field. You start getting relationships with that early adopter market, and the stronger the relationship, the higher the probability that they'll support you and buy from you and continue to buy from you, no matter how shitty your product is in the beginning, because it will be, it always is. And it also, you can actually reach them. You can afford to pay for your marketing because it's small enough that you can dominate. It looks like you're everywhere. And to that market, they think you are because you advertise everywhere in there, right? And so you have, all of your social media, you can set the parameters of the social media reach, right? So your targeted marketing to your early adopter market. So whatever the parameters end up being, you'll put those into your social media marketing campaign. And I hope all of you by now are tracking your KPIs so that you know what the growth has been. If you aren't, make sure that you start doing this and look at how many followers you have on each of the primary channels that you are on regularly, and look at them every month, and then every quarter, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I do all of this myself, and I hope that all of you are doing it as well. Let me go over to the beachhead assignment now. So here in this assignment, there's a table. So you're going to want to go ahead and open up the maps table. You'll need to make a copy of this because you won't be able to edit it because it's view only. And then we're going to make sure that we have the right initial target market identified. And so you are going to, along with your mentors, advisors, or your team, whatever team you have, you're going to start brainstorming, and you're going to say, what are all the possible customer segments? What do they look like? And be very, very specific, right? So this example I had was for those shoe inserts that double as shoes, but can also be worn inside of shoes for women who are, one would be for women who wear maybe inexpensive shoes, and so their feet start hurting a lot, so we might target them. We might also say, no, let's target the young people who go out dancing at night because they always have to change their shoes. Or maybe, no, what about professional dancers? They get sore feet and they will have to change their shoes quite a bit. Now, at the top of the market, you're going to want to put all of the variables that all of the markets share. So no matter what, all of my potential segments are going to be people who have some sort of shoe discomfort. So they have uncomfortable shoes, because if they don't, then they won't need my product. And so I can just put any of the shared variables at the top, and then on the left-hand side over here, you can see these are, these are just basically descriptions of what different users might look like. Maybe older people, or people with older people with chronic conditions, or people with weight issues, or athletes who have specialized shoes, or people who work a lot and wear uncomfortable or professional shoes at work. So maybe people with bad knees or bad backs. And then you can further differentiate here as well. You can get even more specific. And then the way that you differentiate is, here, let's go ahead, pull up the other one. Open up the other table here. Again, you'll have to make a copy because you can't modify this. And this will help you to really, really, really get specific about that initial target market. So you can do it either way. You can start with the maps table, or you can start with the seg table, the market segmentation table. But let's say you did start with that maps table. You brainstormed several different customer segments and what they might look like. And then you said, well, and you went through and completed this chart so that you could get the data for this market seg table and get even more specific. So let's do this. First, I'll show you how you use the seg table, and then I'll show you back how you choose which one of those market segments to choose. So when you're segmenting, a good way to segment is geographically, demographically, psychographically, and then behaviorally. And by behaviorally, I mean purchase behaviors. And this helps you to really think them through, to go through each one of those different segmentation variables and really articulate, and it helps you to also get to that number. So let's go back over to the maps table first and show you how you pick which market you want to actually further explore. So I went through, I brainstormed all of these with my team, and I came up with 8 potential customer segments. Eventually, my startup might reach all of them. I might have a different marketing campaign for each one of them, but right now I want to know which to go to first. The way that I do this is I estimate the size of the market or the strength of the variable based on 4 different criteria. And those criteria, I call them maps. So follow the maps. M in maps is market size. So do I think that this particular market is growing or shrinking? If I think it's a big market that's growing, I give it a high number, a very high number, 5, right? Because that's very true. If I think the market is kind of small or declining, I give it a 1, right? Then A in maps is access. Now this is you as a human being, you as a team. Are you, do you have access to that particular market? So like, for example, I might not have access to young people who go out dancing at night. I don't know where they go out dancing. I don't know them, right? And so I might give that a score of a 2. Or maybe like me, I'm a teacher. I know lots of young people and I can ask a lot of people, hey, you go out dancing at night? Oh yeah, you fit that. I have easy access to them. So A is access. P, can they pay you, right? Do they have enough money to pay for whatever it is that you're selling, right? And then S is probably the most important, which is significance. How important is it to this particular market group, right? Is it a real problem, a pain point that you're curing, or is it just a nuisance, right? Nuisance gets a 1, a real true pain is a 5. Once you go through and you make those assessments about each of those of the different MAPS for each market segmentation, add them all up on each line, and whatever the highest number are, that is that's the early adopter segment that you should first explore. Okay. Any questions from here? I know it's a lot of information and people always get a little bit lost in this, but yeah. Any questions at all?
Yeah, my question is, how do you assign a number?
So it's based on your assessment. You as an entrepreneur, you as a team. So you have to say, do I think I truly have an access to these people? Do I know how to reach them? Do I know where they are? Can I go right now? Do I have 10 people I could go talk to? Or is the opposite true, right?
So do you define your own scale?
Yes. So the scale is 1 to 5, right? So if you see the
okay.
scale, it's 1 to 5. So 1 is very untrue. 5 is very true. It's just a basic Likert scale. Later, you validate the assumptions with actual research, but right now you do it based on your assessment. Yeah. Later, you actually have true validation. Okay. Any other questions on this? Any other questions on this? Okay, moving on.
I do, Professor.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, what I'm attempting to do is, because I really need to hone in on my target market. I believe I know who they are, but I haven't spoken to them.
Yeah,
and I think I've
that research. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in that regard, which would come first? Is the chicken before the egg kind of thing? Should I talk to them first? Okay.
No. You don't do customer discovery until you've identified the early adopters. So this is, so if you want to know the entire like step-by-step process, if you go back over to in the class, you can pull up the customer discovery, and here, and I'll just pull it up because I know I don't know which week it is, but Crystal might know. Which week is their customer discovery in? So Crystal's going to look up that and she'll tell us what week as soon as she does. But this is the step-by-step process. If you want to know which comes first, chicken or egg, it's right here, right? The ideation, opportunity evaluation, including customer discovery, is step-by-step which to do first, right? And it even gives you templates for your, for writing your problem statement, for writing your interview questions, everything, right? And there's so much information in here. You can go down the rabbit hole and spend 10 hours on this, or you can just skim through it and do it kind of quickly and jump in, where you need. But I have everything, like including everything. Okay, so let me go back over here. So Crystal said go to home and then go where at the bottom? Okay, can you see what I'm? It's like a couple after. Okay. Okay. So then you go, she said, scroll all the way down past the weeks, go to week 12, contact card, business card, customer discovery, ideation process, right there, right there. And there's a button on every single one of those with the instructions. So when you click on this, every single one of these will take you. So if you click on customer discovery instructions, it's right there. And there in each one of these is all of the, that sheet we were looking at. And each one of these is linked with instructions on how to do it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Other questions before I move on? Okay. And by the way, there's like 1 or 2 digital badges associated with this right now, but there's actually like 7 or 8 digital badges, because this is essentially, this is everything that we do, right? This is everything that we do. Customer discovery, client discovery, this is it. This is how you determine whether or not you have an idea that is solid and that will be supported, that will get money, that people will, will champion and be behind. If you go through and do every single thing in this, and you've gone through the entire customer discovery process, by then you have a business that is, it's fundable. It's a pitch deck that you could win with, right? All right, so moving back over. So you've done your maps table, you've calculated your highest probability that's going to be your early adopters. And so now we have to do more research on it. So if you go over here, I think there's a blank one, right? Yeah, here's a blank one if you want to use it, right? So just put variables that are shared by all of them, and then you go through and put them in. Maybe you'll only have 4, maybe you'll have 12, right? Okay, so then I found, this is my initial target market. Who did I pick on this one? I picked, the highest score was young people who go out dancing at night. So those looks like the highest probability of actually being my early adopters. Oh yeah, so then I would then take that and put it over here to the beachhead table, and then I would then complete the beachhead based on that. So a beachhead is also basically a market segmentation table. And you'll want to segment the market geographically, demographically, psychographically, and behaviorally. So start with geographic. Now remember, this is early adopters that we're doing. So it's the area that you live in, right? The area in which you live, or the area that you work in, something like this. And so you can see here, I said San Diego County. Then you must actually look this up. So for each of these, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And I put I cited the source where I grabbed it. So I said, how many people live, and this is how you actually type it in. You go over to Google. I'm just going to walk you through it like I know you guys are smart, but how many people live in San Diego? Now choose a source that is credible, Okay, so San Diego, was I thinking San Diego or the city, right? Because it's going to be different. Okay, so if it's a city, like say World Population Review, that works. That's a pretty credible site. Maybe the Census Bureau, whatever, paste it in there. Then it go back over here. Go back over here. Put whatever it is in there. So I said San Diego County. So San Diego County is bigger. It was 3.35 million. Then I said demographically, what do they look like? Are they men or are they women? Are they Black, white, Indian, Chinese? What are they? And does it matter? Well, for my particular product, I said, yeah, I think it matters. I'm going to target African-American boys. So we put each of them separately. You put male in there, you put African-American there separately. And boys, I said, I think it's likely going to be between the ages of 13 and 18, just teenage boys, right? And then I said, they're going to have some money. So likely it's going to be people in this particular income category, right? So if it doesn't matter, don't put it, and don't put like both things. You don't want to say men and women, because it doesn't affect the number, right? It's only things that will affect the number. And you put them in separately so that you can find each one separately. So I said male. So then what you do is you don't want to put into Google this. You don't want to put here, I'll do another one. You don't want to put how many people live in San Diego, but wait, there's more. How many people live in San Diego who are male, teenage, boys, African-American, making this? Do you see why that's stupid? Why that doesn't work? It'll never work. You were not going to be able to find somebody who's done your entire market research for you. It just doesn't exist. That's why we separate them. So if I have them separated, instead of saying how many people live in San Diego who are male teenage. I can just say how many or what, then you for each of the further differentiators, you can just do what percentage of the population is female or male, right? What percentage of the population is male? Now it's a percentage, so it says right here, 50.4, right? So this is, it says 50.4. You know, last time I looked, it was what, 49 point, whatever it is, you know, find a reputable source. And then now that you know the percentage, you can take that and you can make assumptions about people in San Diego based on people in the United States. And you can say, well, if 49% or whatever it was, 49% of the population in the United States is male, I'm going to also assume 49% of San Diego is male. And so you take this 49% times the number above it, which gives you an estimated size of the market. Does that kind of clear? You guys get how I'm doing this and how to do this yourself? Okay. So then you can further keep narrowing down that target market without having to do any primary research, because you have, because you're going to make assumptions about the specifics based on the general, right? So then what percentage of the population is African-American or Black? Well, I looked it up and I typed it just like this. What percentage of the population is Black, right? Be that specific. And that's a great way to ask. It says about 13.4% of the United States is Black, right? And so you go back, you drop it into the table and it's about 12.9, it said here, right? Last time I checked, it was last year. And so then you take that number and multiply it by the number above it. So if you look, it's like a funnel. It goes big down to small, right? So you're getting smaller and smaller and smaller with each number. You know, income. If it doesn't matter, don't put it. But I put something even, you know, psychographically, something that was even more confusing. People have a hard time with psychographic segmentation, because like, how do you segment psychographically? So, so I will say this, psychographic segmentation is segmenting based on behaviors. Don't get it confused with behavioral segmentation, which is based on purchase behaviors. So I'll share it again. So psychographic segmentation is, how do people act? Are they outgoing? Are they fun loving? Does it matter if people are, you know, like sick or people who use, you know, the healthcare system, something like this, whatever it is, that's what you put. And then you have to get really creative about how you find the numbers. So, right. So this one I said, psychographically, I said, well, there's people who watch a lot of TV, and the reason I said that is because I was looking for people who watch a lot of TV. So I couldn't find that when I put in what percentage of the population watch TV heavily or 3 or more hours a day. So I looked up highly sedentary. What percentage of the population are highly sedentary? I did put, or watch 3 or more hours per day. You have to get very creative, is my point, on how you actually find this. And then you can take that percentage, multiply it by the one above it. Now, the last one is behavioral segmentation. Behavioral segmentation, in order to confuse people, researchers call it behavioral, but it's really purchase behaviors. And it does not affect the market size. It does not affect the market size. So the market size is the same at the bottom there, 4,099. It's the same based on their purchase behaviors. The reason why we need to do behavioral segmentation is because we need to know how often they're buying it. So purchase behavior, I said, I looked it up and I said, okay, I'm guessing that it's going to be people who purchase this once a year, right? I'm going to do an annual service. I'm going to charge it to a credit card, whatever. And so I know that number that I got of 4,000 is going to happen once a year. Now, if your purchase behavior says, well, it's something that gets charged automatically each week, that's a huge difference in how much money you're going to make. And that's why we need to do this, right? So that we can take and multiply it or divide it, whatever we need to do. So is that kind of clear? Because this one always gets people, and I see them do this wrong all the time. They further differentiate on this, or they don't really get what it's about. Anybody have any questions on this? Yeah, so if you wanted for the annual, you multiply by 12. Exactly. If it's weekly, 56, right? Yeah, exactly. And so we know how often you're getting that money, so that when you're doing your TAM, SAM, SOM, when you're putting your TAM, SAM, SOM into your pitch deck, we can say truly, this is the annual projection, right? Because we actually thought it through. Right? Okay, so now TAM, SAM, and SOM, TAM, SAM, and SOM. wait, we don't have TAM, you know, Beachhead is not TAM, it's not SAM, it's not SOM, really, right? Beachhead is different. Beachhead is more specific. Beachhead truly is the early adopters who are going to buy our product or service. The reason why I like to do Beachhead before I calculate TAM, SAM, and SOM is because when I'm calculating SAM, I can use the variables in the Beachhead, you know, maybe not getting quite as specific, but some of the overall variables to estimate SAM, right? So I don't recommend that you, I really don't recommend that you get as specific because it's a very small number and investors don't like to see a very small number. What I recommend doing is have your TAM, SAM, and SOM, and then have your initial target market or your beachhead, whatever you like to call it, and show it as a customer persona, right? Show it as a customer persona. So by that, I mean a photo of your customer with a description of that customer so that they know this is what a prototypical early adopter looks like, sounds like, spends like. And that it shows that you really understand that initial target market. And then when you're doing your projections for your marketing campaigns, you might have in year 5, 25 different customer personas, or maybe it's 5 different customer personas of different groups that are all your customers and all, you know, valued personas. Okay, questions about any of this? I can help you with whatever you need help with. If any of you are doing your math and you need help or having a hard time finding the numbers, I'd be happy to help. But the reason that we do this is to get to that market size so that when we show investors, you know, when we show investors, this is our TAM, this is our SAM, this is our SOM, we can show, and we've done our research. We got these numbers not from the air. Oh, I should say another thing. This is not going to be entirely accurate. It's not going to be entirely accurate. You're not going to be exact, but it's a heck of a lot better than just pulling a number out of the air. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs do that. And then it's just wild guesses that mean nothing to the investor, nothing to anyone, right? Nothing to anyone. But when you can say, you know, this is based on this, and this is how I got the number, then you have credibility and people believe you. Now, if you're a B2B business, none of this matters in terms of the geographic and demographic segmentation. Well, geographic still matters, but not the behavioral, not psychographic, not demographic, because who cares what the other business, you know, how old the owner is of the other business or whatever, right? What we care about is the type of business, right? We still want to know purchase behaviors. We still want to know geographically where you're going, but we want to know like what type of business are you targeting, because that makes a difference, right? Are there any questions on any of this? I know a lot of you have done these or have started these, and if you would like me to look at them again, I'd be happy to do so. But all of you should for your, you know, for your pitch deck presentation. All right, I'm going to stop the video there, stop the share right there. Oh, no, I don't want to stop the video. Last thing, we are, okay, so we have that big pitch competition coming up on September 23rd. We have the other pitch competition, July 28th, which is even sooner. That's what you can be preparing for. We're going to be off starting in about, we have one more week is all right, one more week. So technically this is the last week of classes. So I'll be here to, I guess, you know, to help you along, but we aren't going to be meeting regularly again until we start up in the summer. So definitely let us know if you're going to be back with us in the summer. Just put it on the recap form. And then if you are pitching as part of the pitch competition in the summertime, I'll send out a message to all of you and we'll have time to practice. And I really want to make sure to look at everybody's slides before you pitch and your numbers. So yeah, I'll just send out a message. What else, Crystal? Anything? Oh, yeah. Oh, to pitch. So yeah, they would have to be, I think, registered for that. I'll double check it to make sure, but I think they would have to be. Yeah, so if you do want to want to be part of the competitions, because there's money involved. Yeah, any of the competitions, you do need to be registered. And it's a short summer, it's 8 weeks. And if you want to wait until the fall, you can wait until the fall to register, and then you just won't be able to do the summer one. So any other questions? I think there was some in the chat. I should check. Bye. Take care, Philippe. Yep. Okay, cool. Anybody else have any questions? If you do, let me know. I'm going to stop the recording now. Where do I stop the recording? Stop recording. All right. So